to be calling on our second speaker. Her name is Mrs. Titilola Vivo Adeniyi, and she has this, what's it called? She likes to be known as the Merchant of Hope. Titilola Vivo Adeniyi is a legal practitioner and a public administrator with over 10 years in public service. And she has served in different capacities within Lagos state government during this period. She has been instrumental in ensuring a coordinated response to sexual and gender-based violence in Lagos State. She currently serves as the perennial coordinator of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team, a position she currently occupies. My Lord, learned Silk, distinguished seniors, and our distinguished participants, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Mrs. Titilola Vivo Adeniyi to take the virtual mic at this point. Thank you so much, Titilola. I hand over to you now.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. And permit me to please stand on existing protocol. I thank Her Honor, Mrs. Adeniyi. Always a privilege to be under her, to always attend any session she's in. A great privilege. So I'm supposed to train on modules 4, 5, and 6. It's my hope that at the end of this session, participants will be able to appreciate the need for multi-sectorial approach in handling of sexual and gender-based violence. Participants will be informed of the pillars of the National Action Plan. We'll be able to understand the roles of critical actors, including the executive, the judiciary, legislature, and traditional rulers. And most importantly, we'll be empowered to use advocacy as an important tool in ending violence against women. So I start with the introduction. And it's, for decades, communities have grappled with how to improve their response to domestic and sexual assault. However, we find that the most popular approaches used by other jurisdictions to deal with these problems is to engage in coordinated effort, which incorporates the wide range of professional disciplines who are involved in providing both the response and resources for domestic and sexual assault victims within the community. And this is what is envisaged by the VAP. The VAP requires that the implementing agency, which is NAPTIP, is required to engage in a multi-sectorial approach in implementing the law. And it requires the NAPTIP agency to work with Federal Ministry of Justice, the Nigeria Police Force, the Legal Aid Council, Social Welfare, Ministry of Information, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Women Affairs, Health, CSOs, FBOs, faith-based organizations, and of course, the Nigerian Bar Association. So this is the typical work stream that we have, where we have victim interaction, we have NAPTIP, Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development. In states that don't have response teams, we see that WAPA leads it. Ministry of Education, the media, and NGOs. Victims can actually have interface with these people there. But then where dealings are incidented through the NAPTIP, if it's for the VAP Act, the police, the health sector, if there are SACs, of course, they can visit the SACs immediately. And then the bodies that are in charge of enforcing the law, the Ministry of Justice, Judiciary, and of course, the NBA also plays a role. Just to put this in proper context, in Lagos, in 2014, in fact, this case was one of the reasons why the DSVLT being the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence and Response Team, was established. We read in one of the very popular dailies, a 4-year-old girl was defiled by the father. And in the process of that defilement, her cervix dropped. So she found it very difficult to control the passing of urine. Now, the publication in the newspaper, the whole information about the case was there. The little child's name, her address, her picture, everything pertaining to that child was printed in that newspaper. There was a follow-up story. They went to court. People were begging the woman, telling her that she cannot afford to send her husband to jail. If she sends her husband to jail, who is going to take care of her? Who is going to feed her? Where will she live? Of course, because his family was going to come and forcefully evict or eject her from her matrimonial home. And so that was a clear case of something missing in terms of coordination of response. Agencies were working in silos. There was no coordination. Agencies were not talking to each other. And so it was the victim that was suffering or bearing the brunt for it. And so the need to have a proper response mechanism is so critical when we're providing support to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, because most survivors require various services that cannot be reasonably gotten in one or by one agency or department. So very quickly, we'll look at the National Action Plan, which guides policy formulation and policy formulation and policy implementation across the country. So we have 4 P's and 1 C: prevention, participation, protection, crisis management, and partnership. Now, these pillars are to be used as a point of reference when analyzing implementation and sustainability strategies. So we take the first one, prevention and disaster preparedness. This pillar seeks to ensure the total prevention of all forms of violence against women and girls, harmful traditional and cultural practices, and seeks to enforce SRHR. Now, it does this by ensuring, or rather it seeks to do this by ensuring advocacy. Legislation is enacted to protect the rights of women and girls who statistics have shown are most vulnerable to violence against women, to sexual and gender-based violence. So the second pillar, participation. Now, this pillar seeks an increase in participation and engagement of women in politics, governance, and adjudicatory bodies. We found out that the inclusion of women's interests in the decision-making processes related to the creation of laws and policies will provide for a better and more efficient prevention strategy to combat forms of violence against women and girls. Now, I'll just give 2 examples of why this is so critical. The Protection Against Domestic Violence law, if you're a practitioner in Lagos State, you know that that law does not criminalize domestic violence. I'm aware that the bill that was forwarded to the House of Assembly had a provision to criminalize domestic violence. Unfortunately, when it got to the House of Assembly, apparently it was debated upon, and majority of the honorable members said, we cannot be doing what is obtainable in the West. This is Nigeria, this is Lagos. We have our values, we have our culture. We cannot be seen to be criminalizing, to be prosecuting husbands for being violent towards their wife. So that's one of the ways women lost out. Similarly, the criminal law of Lagos State, section 260, provides for rape, the offense of rape. And I think it's sub 2 that says rape between a husband and wife shall not be unlawful. So it means that the law does not envisage that a man or a husband can actually rape his wife. The bill, this was also debated upon again in the House of Assembly, and that was the resolution. This is our culture. We cannot be acting like the whites. We have to appreciate culture and our values, and a husband cannot rape his wife. So we go to the next pillar, protection and prosecution. Now, this pillar seeks to ensure the rights of women and girls are protected through existing laws and the creation of new ones in light of international best practices. And so this is hinged on activism and awareness creation, which we believe can aid in the protection of women and girls against such acts of violence. Furthermore, the said activism can aid in the prosecution of such cases where the rights of women and girls have been violated. So this is just a brief, so we have a flow. We have awareness, action, activism, awareness, action, and prosecution of cases. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, thank you. So activism, awareness, action, and prosecution. There's a flow. If we create awareness, there will be a call to action. People will be able to come forward and speak out and report cases. Hopefully we'll be able to prosecute, and then we'll be able to end the culture of impunity. Just before I go to the next slide, I think it's important to state that one of the reasons why violence against women and girls continues to thrive, it's because of the culture of impunity. In Lagos, I think it was 3 weeks ago, we had a man, he beat up the wife and had the audacity to go to his Facebook page, posted the pictures, the wife's pictures, and said, "I beat you, let me see the police that would come and arrest you." He had been doing it apparently. When we engaged the survivor, she said they had been to the station severally, and they kept on telling her, "Madam, you know, it's your cross. You have to humble yourself. You have to be submissive. You know, we are not here to break homes," and all of that. But the fact that he had the audacity, the nerve to perpetrate this act and then go and post on Facebook, I mean, the impunity reaches to the heavens. So prosecution, securing of convictions is one of the ways of us ending culture of impunity. The next pillar is crisis management, early recovery, and post-conflict reconstruction. So this speaks to areas where there is conflict. This pillar seeks to ensure adequate case management, relief, and recovery procedures of the needs of women and girls when necessary. Furthermore, the specific relief and recovery needs of women and girls are met, and women's capacities to act as agents in crisis, recovery, and post-conflict situations are reinforced. So there is this belief that women make for better mediators, negotiators, and conciliators. And I think the UN actually has adopted this, and they found it to be quite successful in engaging the services of women in during crisis, when they're trying to during conflict, and when they are trying to mediate with perhaps terrorists. Sorry, I was looking for the word. So partnerships, coordination, and management. This cannot be overemphasized. There needs to be a synergy between relevant stakeholders, government, and civil society organizations in order to ensure a streamlined coordination, implementation, and monetary policy on these issues. CSOs, NGOs, other organizations cannot work independently of the legislature, judiciary, and other arms of government. We all have to come together under one umbrella. I speak to service providers now. Leverage on each other's strengths, speak the same language, and ensure that survivors that come in contact with either government or NGO or even the police, upon contact, the whole referral pathway is activated so that survivors are able to receive holistic support. And that's why there is a need for partnerships, coordination, and management. During the COVID-19 lockdown, especially when the whole country was on proper lockdown, in Lagos, we really came to appreciate the need for partnership and coordination. And it worked because we already had that system before the lockdown. So when the lockdown happened, we just basically had to leverage on technology and begin to coordinate, begin to reach out to partner NGOs, provide services either for shelter, effect emergency rescue, or refer or escalate cases to the police. So this truly cannot be overemphasized. Now let's quickly look at the roles of the executive, judiciary, legislators and traditional rulers. So we know that the legislature has a duty to enact relevant laws to criminalize violence against women and girls. and protect the rights of victims and ensure adequate budgetary allocation for response. As Her Honor said, it's not enough for us to have the laws. We need to be able to enforce these laws, and we need funding. We need adequate funding to be able to properly respond to these issues. For funding for the police to conduct investigation, funding for NGOs to do community and legwork at the community level, initiate first contact with the survivors. Even the prosecutors need funding as well. And of course, the judiciary as well. In Lagos, we have the domestic and sexual violence courts, the specialized courts. That courts or the courts should be upgraded to appropriately protect survivors that have to give evidence in the court. So it's not out of place for us to have those screens that protect the identity of the survivors, especially in high-risk cases. People see cases come to court. We have 500 cases. Maybe we say this government is prosecuting 500 cases, 1,000 cases in court. But some people don't know the level of detail, the amount of the human resources that have gone in to get one survivor to even go through that process to the point where it ends up in court. It is a deliberate effort from the police to even convince the survivor to report at the police, from the police if it's sexual violence, then to move for medical evaluation, and then go to the magistrate where the suspect is arraigned, and not arraigned, rather remanded. Then it goes to the DPP for legal advice, and then information is filed at the High Court. There is a lot of work that goes on at the back end for that kind of case to even go through to conviction. So that requires adequate budgetary funding. So the executive, of course, they also propose laws. Majority of the laws that were enacted in Lagos were actually laws emanating from EXCO, the criminal law, protection against domestic violence law, magistrate courts law. Most of these major laws that protect the rights of women and girls in Lagos were actually EXCO member bills. And then, of course, not just to propose laws, but formulate policies that create enabling environment for effective response. The executive also has a mandate to create and strengthen response mechanisms institutions, and of course, ensure appropriate budgetary allocation to response. Judiciary helps us to activate those laws by ensuring victims have access to justice. I believe we need to see more of demonstration of judicial activism in the rulings and the judgments, and even in the manner in which these cases are conducted. Over the years, we've been at this since 2014. We've had some not too good feedback from survivors that approach the courts, especially to obtain restraining orders. Some of the survivors tell us that even the way the magistrate spoke to me, my husband, the alleged abuser, came out acting like or feeling like as if, he had won, he was victorious. Some people said that they felt like as if the magistrate was doing them a favor by granting the protection order. So I think, of course, the judiciary has a role to play in ensuring that truly women and girls are able to access justice, because the court is really the last hope for the common man. Before a case gets to court, especially domestic violence, please be assured that they have explored mediation, they have been to their religious cleric, they have been to an NGO, they may have even gone to the police to incident the case. They have gone to government, and now they are before the court. And yet it appears like as if there is no justice. Traditional rulers, our primary gatekeepers of culture, they need to be engaged on the continued prevalence of abhorrent cultural practices, which of course include harmful widowhood practices and female genital mutilation. Now, I think I'm on the last module. Let's quickly go to the role of advocacy. Now, for states that are yet to adopt the VAP, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, or any relevant legislation that protects the rights of women and girls against abuse, of course, civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, and other relevant bodies are implored to continue multi-level activism and awareness initiatives. I'm aware that in Bauchi State, for instance, Ward C, Women and Research Development Center, and I think North Normal, another NGO, have both been actively pushing for the enactment of the VAP in Bauchi. And I believe that on this week, it passed the second second reading. And Bauchi is set to become the first state in Northeast to domesticate the VAP Act. The highest office, being the office of the citizen, also has to be awakened. Citizens need to begin to engage members of the legislature on the need for adequate legislation to guarantee their safety and protection. So let's go to other forms of advocacy. And here we speak of leveraging on technology to address violence against women and girls. I think COVID-19, one of the, if I may say, the blessing of COVID-19, it has just shown us that we cannot continue to do things the way we used to do them before. We need to start to leverage on technology to appropriately address violence against women and girls. A lot of people still remain unaware about the relevant laws. They remain unaware about support services available to them. They remain unaware of contacts, places they can go to seek help. And so we need to leverage on technology. CSOs, everybody needs to leverage on technology to continue to embark on aggressive campaigns to create awareness with regards to VAP Act and other relevant laws applicable to their states. More than this, however, technology can also be a powerful tool and implementation strategy with respect to the protection of women's rights. Apps, mobile apps can be created which sync potential victims to police officers, doctors, and relevant agencies like FIDA when the need arises. This may aid in the preservation of evidence and increase in the reporting of cases. Lagos is actually working on something similar, an app to help people, survivors, mandated reporters to report cases real time. And somebody from the back end works on that report and is able to escalate. We also say that education and training via digital libraries is important because we found out that the lack of education keeps women and girls in poverty and makes them more vulnerable to gender-based violence, including domestic violence, child marriage, and forced marriage. Some of us are fit fam. We're aware of the Fitbits that we wear, those ones on our wrists that count our number of steps that we take per day. We actually have Fitbits that can help in keeping women safe. So these Fitbits are connected. I think this is obtainable in Egypt, I think. So the Fitbit is connected to an app on the phone. And so if anybody is in distress, they can just press something on the Fitbit, and then the police is alerted on their location, and police is immediately dispatched to come and meet them where they are. We also know that not everybody has access to smartphones, so we can always use SMS messages. And I think NCDC has done amazing work in that regard. People, we've been getting a lot of messages, safety tips on how to keep safe, what to do, maintain social distancing, and all of that. Those messages are being shared via SMS. We can leverage on this. We can leverage on the use of SMS to disseminate information. Yes, so we say social media is indeed a powerful tool if used properly to embark on sustained campaigns which have the ability to attract the attention of mainstream media and get people talking. So just in the past 2 weeks, we've seen social media at work. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I'm on slide 19. Okay, I'm on. So slide 19 actually has a picture of the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives. So he's having a speaker Zoom conference on sexual and gender-based violence, and he's supposed to host honorable speakers of houses of assemblies of states, and the topic is sexual and gender-based violence. And this is possible because of the social media advocacy that happened in the past 2 weeks. And the beauty of this was we took the message from online and we went offline. We took our advocacy from social media. We hit the streets. Abuja, a coalition of NGOs hit the streets in Abuja and ended at the honorable speaker's office, where they were able to address him and make their demands. The next picture I have on slide 20 is from Punch. I don't know if we are aware, yesterday, governors declared a state of emergency on rape. This is another effect of social media. The next one I have is a thread by the Nigeria Police Force, where the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, has declared rape and other sexual offenses a global pandemic. And he has said, oh, thank you. Okay, yes, that was the slide on the Honorable Speaker. Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. But could you please move to the next slide, please? Okay, so I said there's another one on the Inspector General of Police declaring sexual offenses a global menace. The next one we have, yesterday evening, the Federal Attorney General announced that in view of the outrage and the rape culture, he has
I'm sorry.
Hello?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So yesterday evening, the Federal Attorney General announced that he had set up. He had set up a gender-based violence management committee, which comprises top-level representatives of the different responder agencies that will provide support to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. So I just thought to bring that up to show us the power of social media when used for a positive good. Now, step-by-step approach for advocacy. So we say that step 1, we need to have a coordination of SGBV concepts and definitions. Thank you so much. Yes, so coordination of SGBV concepts and definitions. We all need to be speaking the same language. Identify the key terminologies, be aware of the consequences and the terms of imprisonment for each of those offenses. Step 2, coordination of policies and existing structures. We need to identify and address existing reforms and policy structures, as well as response framework for any approach. We need to ask ourselves, what local laws exist within the states? What policies are being monitored? Are there international strategies that need to be employed? Can we look at the use of sex offenders register? Is it going to serve us any good? Is it going to serve as a deterrent? What role does having a sex offenders register in the state play in the grand scheme of things in terms of prevention, in terms of ending the culture of impunity? These are the kind of things we should be looking at, apart from just having relevant laws. Stakeholder mapping. We need to know existing organizations that are on ground. We need to have information about all the relevant stakeholders, CSOs, coalition networks, other agencies. we suggest that there should be a verified directory clearly enumerating service providers, contact details, and the particular services that they provide. This is so critical, so that even amongst the responder agencies, we know what each person is doing. We know the service each person provides. We know the number to call. We know the address to refer people to. So there is proper synchronization even amongst the responder agencies. We believe that this will ensure a multi-sectoral approach, as no single group can adequately address SGBV prevention, mitigation, and response on its own. Of course, the step 4, identify and streamline implementation within subgroups. This involves the identification and streaming of implementation policies within subgroups of the larger stakeholders. This has shown to be more efficient than just working with larger groups. Identification of victims, potential enabling environments. So we need, obviously, for this to work, we need to have a community-based approach, victim-based approach, and human rights approach. And this, we envisage, is very, very critical in cases of emergencies. Step 6, thematic responses in times of emergencies. It's no secret that SGBV occurs during all humanitarian emergencies. Women and girls are the ones that mostly feel the brunt of wars and conflict. And so there is a need for relevant organizations and agencies to have a standard and readily available thematic or gendered response ready in anticipation of future crises. We are not oblivious to the allegations that have been levied against UN peace builders when they come into areas of post-conflict. We've heard of cases where they themselves are the ones perpetrating violence against women and girls. So concluding thoughts, we believe that knowledge is indeed power. If stakeholders, victims, and lawyers are not aware that such a law as the VAP Act exists or are not familiar with its provision, then the law will remain effective. It will just be on our bookshelves. We therefore need to activate these laws. We need to test these provisions in the courts. Are you saying that it's possible for the courts to restrain a husband from coming to a house that he built on the ground of abuse? Emphatically, yes. But we will not be able to test this if we don't activate these laws, if we do not approach the courts for justice. I go on to say trainings for key actors, legal practitioners, police prosecutors, magistrates, as well as judges on best practices for handling sexual and gender-based violence. Do we want to say the way we have specialized courts for sexual offenses in Lagos? Do we want to have specialized police prosecutors? Do we want to have specialized magistrates to handle sexual and gender-based violence? Because these issues require responders to be empathic, to be professional in the manner in which they handle these cases, so that our actions do not even re-traumatize the survivors that are already traumatized. Investigation, the training of police on best practices truly cannot be overemphasized. If we get it right at the police, I make bold to say that going forward, everything else will be built on a solid foundation. But if from the police level, investigation is not done professionally, investigators don't move from their table, they do table investigation, they don't visit the scene of the crime, they don't activate the referral pathway, they further victimize the survivor or the victim, then victims will not be encouraged to access justice. So we need to do a lot of training for police on best practices for investigating sexual and gender-based violence. Furthermore, there's need for a widespread adoption of the VAP Act in states where it is not yet adopted, and full implementation in states where it is in existence. This can be possible with the inclusion of women in leadership and administrative process to drive these changes. I close with this image from TECHA. It shows the number of states in the country that have adopted the VAP. The red one, sorry, not countries, the number of states. Oh yes, the number of states. The states in red are the ones that have not yet adopted the VAP. The states in green have adopted, or they have something similar, a similar provision. And the one in yellow, Bauchi, which I spoke of earlier, is pending. And we believe that very soon, Bauchi will be welcomed into the states into the progressive states, the ones that have adopted and are implementing the VAP. On this note, I say a very big thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Wow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wow. Thank you so much, Titi Lola Bible Adeniyi, the coordinator of Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team. You have really spoken so well. Your points were well articulated. And of course, you gave us a lot of practical issues and images that we can totally relate with in going on to further reflection on this presentation. Thank you so much. Again, I will attempt to do a brief highlight of some of the things that really stood out throughout your presentation. You were able to take us through the 4 P's and 1 C of the implementation strategy. That's the prevention, participation, crisis management, and of course, pursuing effective partnerships and collaboration in this journey, on this journey. And in alignment with what Ahono said, you were also able to identify some setbacks from our laws, and of course, the cultural sentiments. And you raise a poser that how can we end the culture of impunity? This is really, really a tough call for all of us. You are also in full alignment with the existing gaps, like I've said, and a key highlight of the various roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders within this ecosystem. And courtesy of COVID-19, you alluded to the fact that technology is a wonderful tool for us to leverage on now and use effectively. So we need to do more with technology and come out of our comfort zone and get a handle of all these technological platforms that we have at our disposal. And then you were able to walk us through the step-by-step strategy implementation for this advocacy, how we can move from step 1 to step 6, and of course the role of our key actors along this. We really want to thank you for a wonderful presentation, and I know that our distinguished participants have taken a lot out of your presentation, and so we thank you so much, Itilola. At this juncture, I would like to invite our distinguished guest on the call, our distinguished guest. I would like to call on my Lord, my Lord Justice Pedro, to please give us a few remarks on what we have discussed here today, and then I'll move on to my learned silk. I'll just try to check if she's still on the call. Sorry for the break in transmission. I don't know if Justice Jumoke Pedro is still here with us. My Lord, I don't know if you're still on the call. Okay, while I'm waiting to ascertain that from the back end, I would like to call my learned silk, Mrs. Titilola Okonlawo Akinlawo, to please share a few thoughts on the presentations we've had today with us. My learned silk, are you still here with us, ma?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I was just trying to put on my video, but it's not coming on. But that not.
Yes, ma.
I have few things to say. You know, I'm a litigator, and my concern is how come we never heard that anybody that had committed sexual offense has been sentenced to life imprisonment as required by the law. This would stem from lack of evidence, because no court will convict without evidence. And the one primary thing there is corroboration. How would you get corroboration, particularly of a child in a sexual offense. So we're just working at cross purpose. I would think that in that area, the law will have to be changed. In another area, like your Honor said earlier about spousal rape, I think we're not moving with the times at all, that we cannot consider spousal rape as an offense. It has to be an offense. For me, okay, I'm
Good.
asking you.
Yes.
So, well, I hope it's clear enough. For me,
It's clear.
I honestly believe that we have to rejig the law relating to spousal rape, because it is becoming so rampant and so very endemic now, that the fact that, oh, I paid your bride price, you're my wife, I can do whatever I like to you. Even getting dogs to come and be having sex with their wives. It happens. So all of this, I think, are the areas we have to look at the law and review. And coming to the issue of domestic violence, when my sake, Mrs. Vivo Adeni spoke about would the court restrain a man from coming into the house that he built to prevent violence to the wife and the rest of the family? I recall that some 31 years ago, before Justice Alabi, I had a case like that I took to court, asking for an order of injunction to prevent the man from coming into the home because he had become a nuisance to the family. I mean, the judge looked at me and it was like, are you serious about what you're doing? I mean, I was a young counsel. I'm just about 40 years at the bar. So that time you can imagine, but I was very bold. I was very courageous, I'm always like, it doesn't matter, let us test it. The worst is that you're going to lose. So, and the judge was so furious that how can you? I just told him calmly, well, my lord, that is my application. Let me just have the opportunity of moving my application. By the time I'm done, well, the court may grant or may not grant it. That's not the issue, but the application. And, and the judge calmly informed me that, why don't you come for judicial separation? And I looked at him calmly too. And my lord, this is my application and I'm ready to proceed. The respondent was represented by counsel. We argued. At the end of the day, the court granted my order. But I must put a caveat that it's not unlikely that he granted it because that was the official residence of the wife. I'm sure if it had been the house built by the husband or been paid for by the husband, very possible it would not have made such order. So you see, we must ourselves be bold enough to go to court to demand for what we consider to be our right. Like we said earlier, if we do not go, how would we test the law? And a lot of people are reticent about court because it takes forever. I got somebody in my office yesterday that the husband died since 2005. They're still on the dispute of resolving the estate. This is a woman that got married to a man under the act, and the husband's family took over everything. They did not even put her name in the letters of administration, and the case had been in court since 2006. And they have not got into the trial stage. So in that kind of a situation, why would anybody be encouraged to want to go to court? So we all must have completely reorientation. We all must be able to come up to say that, look, this has to stop. Lawyers, judges, particularly lawyers, because we are the ones that always put stumbling block along the way, come up with one stupid application or the other, and by the time that it's always a woman that will be behind the whole thing, engineering it and what have you. So we really have to change our own orientation. And the last thing I would want to talk about is the issue of investigation. For instance, this case of Uwa of the University of Benin,
my dear,
that was raped and killed. The family said when they went to the police.
Hello, darling.
to bring money before they can follow them or do whatever.
My dear.
The same thing happened.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. Your voice is quite faint.
Oh, okay. I thought, well, I'm not mute, so I'm sure it will normalize. I said that the issue about investigation, you know, the civil society advocated that there should be a gender desk at the police stations. Yes, we have gender desk there, but what is the value of the gender desk? Have we changed the orientation of police officers that knows that this is a call to duty, is a call to service? For them, that once a case is reported, let's just take the case of rape. Once a case of rape is reported, like it had been advocated earlier, they will say, hey, it's your fault. How could you? Why didn't you? You know, they come up with all sorts of things. And the victims themselves, because of stigmatization, would always want to withdraw into themselves and not make a case. All these, when you get to the police stations and what have you, they will jeer at you, make mockery of the whole thing, turn it into a joke, and be demanding for money before they can follow you, or you have to buy petrol into their van, you have to, all sorts of things. Instead of taking the victim into a center where they can take specimen, because most of the times when we lose rape cases, well, the incapacity of the prosecutor, who doesn't understand what it entails, lack of evidence, the fact that you have to provide corroboration, and all of those things. There's no way we can secure conviction in those circumstances. So I would suggest that if there is a rape situation, the first thing that needs to be done is for DNA, for the instead of taking a bath before going to the police station, go like that to get specimen of the semen or the pubic hair or anything that would link the defendant to the offense. Once that is done, we do what other corroboration are we looking for? In that kind of a situation, almost invariably, the defendant will have to be convicted, and then the maximum punishment will have to be given. You can see what is the issue about castration. Well, I'm pro-life. I'm a Catholic. I'm pro-life. I would never say people should be killed for any kind of offense. But I honestly believe that if we don't step up our game against this terrible pandemic, I will call it, not endemic now, it's going to be pandemic because it's all over the world. If we don't get up and arrest it quickly, it will become serious pandemic. So I would suggest that, well, we step up our game and castrate any man that is convicted. Can you imagine the Speaker of the House of Representatives, jokingly, when they were discussing this at the House, said, oh, okay, what happens if is a woman that raped somebody? Excuse me. I was like, what is this? What is this? Is this a joke?
Especially the sexual reproductive.
You understand? So I think Mrs. Vaivo said, we have to do more advocacy for people to really understand what this is all about. And then the orientation, the cultural situation, we have to reorientate ourselves, particularly the police again. If there's domestic violence, the woman gets to the police station to report. I mean, you know, they treat it with so much levity as if it's nothing. They would say, go back home, it's family matter, go and resolve it. And then family putting pressure on the victim. I mean, I don't have any sympathy for a man that will beat up his wife into pulp, or not until the time the man kills the wife, that will now know that there is a problem. When it has been happening, and family members will go mediate, you know, it's rubbish. I would say this is utter nonsense. If there is violence, it is best for the woman to leave. Separate at that point before you are killed, because a dead person cannot complain. So I would honestly believe that this is good for us to have this training, and the awareness must continue. It was a good thing that FIDA nationwide had this whatever was it yesterday, that they went to the house, they went to the governor's office and whatever. It's all part of the awareness, but we don't have to stop there. I would think it's something we have to persist at doing, continue to talk about it, continue to put it up. The social media is there, and a lot of these things that we're seeing now is as a result of the social media. But for social media, before we will hear about Uwa's death, probably it will be 3-4 weeks. But with social media, it becomes quite right there. So we have to continue the awareness. It is becoming too rampant. And if we don't move to stem it, well, God will help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma. We really appreciate you, my Nene Silk. We appreciate all these nuggets and the key points. Ma, you have said in summary that if this is going to be, is indeed up to us as women, as critical stakeholders in these ongoing conversations, and we cannot afford to be timid or to pull back. We need really, really, in your words, to step up our game and ensure that there is a change. We change the narrative and own the process 100%. Thank you so much, Ma. We really appreciate you. I don't know if we have my Lord back on this call. I've tried to check back end. Can somebody please help me to check that she's back? But really love to hear from her. But while we're doing that, so Mustafa and Ada, please confirm to me that my Lord is back on the call ASAP. I think she dropped off, maybe due to technical glitch. We'll look at some of the questions and then go back to our distinguished speakers to help us walk through some of the questions and give answers to our participants. So I'll go on to take some of them. This one says from one of our attendees, my question is on spousal rape. Says the law is silent on it. What can a married woman who is being raped by her husband do? Again, Your Honor, why is it difficult to prosecute and jail? Why is it difficult to prosecute? My question just disappeared. And jail, I think someone who's raped, a rapist, I think. Suddenly I can't find that question. But I hope my Honor got that question, that why is it difficult to prosecute such people? Why do they get away with it? Over to you, Ahono.
Hello? Hello, yeah, I was just reading it and I just wrote a reply that I think, what can a married woman do if you are being raped by your husband? Well, there's nothing except separate or divorce. There's nothing for now. Until, like I say, the only protection is in legislation. The law has got to put it has got to be somewhere in the law. Part of spousal battery, part of violence. You cannot rape. And then we have to define what is spousal rape, which will be different for what is the regular rape. Spousal rape will be anything against the order of nature that your wife has not consented to, possibly. So it's when it's defined that it can now, and a penalty ascribed to it, that the law can punish it. If it's not defined, it's constitutional. A person cannot be punished except the offense is prescribed, is written, and the penalty thereof prescribed. So if it's not, spousal rape will continue. It has been there. So men cannot even have sex with their wife without beating her first. They'll beat her to a stupor. That gets them up. So there are so many. And with the culture of silence, culture of you must stay in your husband's house, had made it very impossible for people to come out and talk about it. So if anybody is in that situation, it's only the Lord that can come to the rescue for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Oh, my Lord, we're so glad to have you back. We missed you.
I was disabled by your administrator. I was disabled. could hear you.
Wow,
There was no way I could communicate.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Let me just say thank you very much.
Wow, we're delighted to have you.
Oh yes, it's indeed an honor and a privilege even for me to be here with the participants. In fact, hearing the speakers, even made me more determined to believe that this issue of gender-based violence is something that we must do everything within our capacity to ensure that it's reduced to the minimum. As it is now, let me thank the presidents, the national presidents, and then the chairperson. The person of Mrs. Neji and the ESCO members too, because this is a training, or you have to continuously and to sensitize the people. For me, I think the VAPP Act, that law, it will go a long way in easing out things as regards gender-based violence and also harmful practices. Let me give you an example of harmful practice that I had when several years back, I was in the family division, and I remember that there was a woman that came. She was the respondent, really. The husband was one came and wanted the court to dissolve the marriage. And the wife put a curse upon him to swear to something so that, whatever cause that she has, that whatever cause can now be reversed, whatever cause can be reversed. And then he now came to court and said, well, you must dissolve the marriage because this woman did not see the village head. And so because of it, she cannot be my wife again. I needed to dissolve. At the end of the day, I found against him. But I still had to dissolve the marriage. But this is just one of the practices, harmful practices going on. The thing is that we have always had this culture of silence. We see these things and we just keep mute about it. We're not talking. So this having a training of stakeholders is an opportunity now for everyone to be aware. You need to carry it further. It's not just something that is just within a few people. It's something you have to take, even if it's possible from state to state. Because if the law, because I see that this law, if it's adopted by all the states, for me, it will transform the landscape and it will help a lot. Now, there was something that I think the last speaker told us about 5 pillars. I talked about the National Action Plan on Prevention, Participation, Protection, Crisis Management, and Partnership. I believe that is what is important, that we reach the entire landscape and to help. And then when we carry all this, when we take it to the legislators, when we take it to the federal government, when we let them know that you are there and you are fighting for this cause, I believe that those who are in authority, they'll be aware of this. And also, I believe that our mindset must also change. Our mindset must change concerning these things. People don't pay attention to it, and they'll give all sorts of excuses, like Chief Magistrate Ayeye said about them saying that, well, the victim of the they always lay blame on the victim. So in that instance, implementation of all these 5 pillars will be very, very welcome. And another thing, you talked about protection of the victim. Let me say that with the specialized courts, we also have video, we have courts where you can have video conferencing in a way that you can protect the victim. So that if you feel that maybe the victim is afraid, doesn't want to come up or something, we have that video conferencing in the High Court of Lagos State now. And so those that are specialized, we have those who are specialized, and that's what they are taking. They are not doing anything except the sexual offenses. And so I think you are the right part. I must say that, and I must say, just gender-based violence of this program. And I assure you that anytime you are having the program, I will be here with you. This one was I was just told about 2 days ago, and I had to get myself, to make sure that I participate with you. Thank you very much. It has been thought-provoking. It has been quite enlightening. And
Thank you so much, Ma. I don't know if, I think, okay. I'll just wait for 1 more minute to know if, because there seems to be, I think she's disconnecting, so she's going in and out. Can anybody else hear her? Yeah, can anybody hear my Lord? I don't know if it's from my end, but she appears to be going in and out.
I can't hear her, but Mike is good. Okay, she's muted now.
I think she's
muted.
She's muted now. Thank you so much, my Lord. We're super grateful to have you back and for those very insightful comments and the charge for us to continue with this. We are really grateful, Ma. And of course, for your saying that you'll always be here to support us, subsequently when we call upon you. That is so assuring for us, and we do appreciate you, Ma. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you. I hear you all along. They take me out and then bring me back.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. We hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much. We will take up that charge. It's a challenge to all of us to really, really be responsible, to own this process 100% and keep up with the advocacy and the campaign. So thank you very much, Ma. We're completely out of time, but we can just promise our participants that we will deal with all the questions. By the way, this is a live recording. This session is being recorded, and we are just assuming that we've taken your consent, in view of the data privacy rules. So please take note that this is being recorded. And if anybody wants to opt out now, it's okay. At this point where we are doing full disclosure that this session is being recorded. And so we will be able to analyze all of the questions that have been posted. There are quite a number of questions, but because of time, we don't want to go beyond the time allotted for this program. So that next time when we call again, we will be seen as people who are credible and will keep to our words. So at this juncture, I'm going to call upon our Honorary Secretary of FIDA Lagos. On behalf of all the ESCO members, she's going to do the vote of thanks. And please don't run off. We want to quickly do a group picture. So the back end is going to help us with arranging that. But let me hand over to Mrs. Olivia Nwachukwu, then I'll come back for us to quickly coordinate the group picture. Olivia, please do us the honor of thanking our distinguished VIPs. Thank you. You need to unmute your mic. Unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, well, I'm so grateful to be given this great honor of giving a vote of thanks in such a gathering of legal minds. Well, without much ado, please permit me to stand on existing protocols. On behalf of the executive members of FIDA, I sincerely thank all the speakers, all our partners, sponsors, my CVP in particular, for all the beautiful contributions that they've made so far. You will agree with me that we have acquired new knowledge, especially as regards the human rights angle to sexual and reproductive health rights. Another one again, before now, I never knew about that wearable technology could double as a check on our safety. So I am so grateful that this conversation had impacted me so much in particular. We can confidently say that with these insightful and brilliant presentations, we are now better informed and more equipped to go out there and impact our society positively. We thank you all so much, and God willing, the conversation should be made a continuous one. We are eternally grateful, and may the good Lord keep us safe from this deadly virus, so that we'll be having reasons to converge and tap and learn more from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much. We are grateful. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Olivia. We're grateful. As we now take the final action points, because I mean, it would be good to take some action points from these very wonderful sessions. We want to invite all of our CSOs who will be interested in doing a further cascade, sort of a train the trainer sessions for your various communities and your ecosystem to please indicate. Please drop your name either in the chat room or send us a mail. Just tell us how your interest, and then we'll get back to you for us to coordinate with you, because this has been a fantastic session, you will all agree, but we need to take the conversation beyond where we are stopping right now. So please, if you're interested, put your name, your contacts down in the chat room, and we'll lift all of this up from there and get in touch with you. So your name, your email, your phone number will work well for us to reach out to you and collaborate more on this very important agenda. So I would like to find out from Adaize, our project coordinator, to please confirm that we can do the group picture now, so that we can allow our participants and distinguished VIPs to take their lead. Are we ready for the group photo? Adaize, please come on.
Okay.
Sorry, ma'ams. I just need her to confirm that we can do a full gallery of all our participants so that we can take the pictures. Okay. Wonderful. So our participants, please click on your video. You can put on your video now for the purpose of the group photo. Just put on your video for a minute, please. Oblige us. Quickly put on your video if you can, so that we can take a group picture with our lovely faces. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Somebody is saying that the video is locked by the host. Please, our back end, can you allow our participants to release their videos? Okay, so we take the first page and then we go on to the second page. Quickly, please, quickly, please. Thank you for your patience, our distinguished guests. Thank you so much for your patience. All right, can we take this first page? Ada? You're on mute, Ada.
Very much.
All right, picture time.
We are done with the first step.
Oh, we're done with the first page. Okay, what about the second set?
Yes.
Are we done? Okay, I can hear a click, so I think we're done. So on that note, thank you so much. We are super grateful on behalf of the chair and the entire ESCO of FIDA Lagos, Nigeria. FIDA Nigeria Lagos State Branch. Thank you so much. My name is Abiola Lasende. I'm a FIDA baby. It's been nice coordinating with all of you. Thank you so much. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Mommy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Enter the network.
Bye.
Which network is good?
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You know the password.
Thank you very much.
Give me a few minutes, I'm coming.
This room, okay.
I hear you.
I know.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm looking at all the participants. Attendees with your attend this list.